simply being able to bounce back. It's actually being able to bounce back better.
Hello, Josen.
all ready to go.
simply being able to bounce back. It's actually being able to bounce back better.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to EMDRCM Live. This is an outreach of the Executive Master in Disaster Risk and Crisis Management Program from the country's premier graduate school business and management, the Asian Institute of Management. My name is Jason Binaga, a proud student of EMPRCM Cohort 1, and for tonight's episode number 15, we are glad to have a guest with us from the province of Camarines Sur, Fausto Romero. Sir Fausto?
Good evening, everyone. It's my honor to be part of this momentous event. So we say the EMDRCM Live. I'm very proud to be part of cohort 1. Well, I'm Fausto Rimaro Jr. They call me Don Fausto for short. I came from the hidden paradise of Siruma, a fourth-class municipality from the province of Camarines Sur. It is located at the northern tip of the province, directly facing Pacific Ocean. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuya Fausto. Before we proceed to the conversation proper, I just like to remind everyone, please join our Viber community. You may check the link from the caption of this live stream. In here, you can find information and updates about disasters and other events unfolding related to EMPRCM. There are also some activities that are set up for all of those who will be joining, and it's also a great way of finding out the next episode of the EMPRCM Live. This evening, we have another episode for the Building Resilience series, wherein we talk about a particular area and how it manages disaster and disaster risks that happen in the area. And for this episode, we will be talking about the province of Camarines Sur. Before we tackle the topic of disasters, let's talk about the province of Camarines Sur in general. Sir Fausto, maybe you can tell the audience, especially those who are not familiar with the Philippines, a little bit about Camarines Sur and the municipality of Saruma.
Yeah. A bit information about the province of Camarines Sur. Can you hear me, Jason? Can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me? Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
About the province of Camarines Sur. Camarines Sur is actually the biggest municipality, province in the Bicol region. Um, it is composed of 35 municipalities and two cities. We have Iriga and Naga City, of course. Naga City is an independent city, which is now considered a highly urbanized city in the province. Now, Camarines Sur is known to be the place of the world's smallest fish. Hopefully, some of you are already familiar with this one, which is known as Sinarapan. We also have the famous beaches. We have splendid attractions, and we have one of the famous colorful festivals in the country. And of course, internationally known for some of the festivals like the Peña Francia Festival, the Ibalong Festival in Albay. But in the Bicol region, in Camarines Sur, we also have uh, the festival that is being held, Kaogma Festival for the province of Camarines Sur. And of course, some very important things about that we should know about the province is that our governor is, of course, Honorable Miguel Ruiz Villafuerte, who is the son of Congressman Elry Villafuerte. And of course, the famous Imelda Papin, our vice governor, who is actually my boss because I'm part of his planning team in the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of the province of Camarines Sur. So that's all, Jason.
Thank you. I myself have just recently immigrated from the United States into the Bicol region, and so far, like what Kuya Fausto says, It is a great place to live in, as they call Maugmang Nagar. It's the city of smiles, Naga City, and I come and live in a municipality called Magarao, which is known for a lot of its agricultural and also very strict barangay health workers. With that said, let's proceed to the discussion proper. Sir Fausto, one of the questions I wanted to ask, there are 4 or 5 questions I wanted to talk about was, um, as a student of EMDRCM, even before the pandemic, what are the usual disaster risks that are usually being monitored in Camarines Sur? Just like when you were part of the municipal DRRMO of Suruga.
Yeah. Before I proceed, I would like to remind that I used to be the planning officer of the municipality of Siruma, wherein we usually monitor, even until now, that closely monitoring on typhoons, flooding, landslides, which are the common disasters that are happening in our area. And of course, earthquake because of fear of storm surge and you know what's happening, particularly for us residents of the coastal municipalities. And of course, aside from monitoring the usual ones that are already familiar, we always engage into having some public safety measures, like including traffic accidents, and then if we have very important events like celebrations, particularly during Peña Francia festivals, Kaogma Festival, and of course the emergency transport from Naga to Manila and vice versa. And there are also some coordinations with the different local governments in the province in order to at least uh, become more responsive in times of disasters. So those are the common that we're having here: typhoon, landslide, and flooding.
Got it. So, Kuya Fausto, in terms of the natural risk and hazards of Camarines Sur, what were your thoughts specifically, like with the last one to just happen about last year, 2019 December, while we were in class, that also hit one of our classmates and cohorts from Masbate.
Yeah.
What did you think about that, in particular in terms of Siruma?
Yeah, we were thankful actually. Actually, when I was trying to reach out for Juni and Al in Masbate, I was informing them that we are very thankful in the province of Camarines Sur because uh, they were hit by Typhoon Pablo. Was that Pablo, I think, or the other one? Um,
Uh,
because here in the province of Camarines Sur, we were spared. We are really thankful about that. But before that, before it happens, we are already ready and we have done our best so that whatever impact the typhoon can bring, we are ready to face it. It's not, maybe it can also already be considered as part of the preparedness measures that most of the local governments in this province are already anticipating in the event of any disasters. And in our case, in Siruma, because my municipality is composed of 22 barangays, and 17 of which are all coastal. That's why, if you remember, one of the requirements for us before the start of the classes for cohort 1 is the RAP, the RAP. So my RAP
yes.
before, yeah, my RAP was focused before on coastal flooding because I would like to really promote my municipality to become resilient in times of disasters, particularly commonly during typhoons. We are always experiencing coastal flooding, and a lot of the residents in the coastal areas are really affected by coastal flooding. So if we will become resilient, then eventually the residents in the area will learn to live with it. Even if there are typhoons, if there are flooding, maybe some of those who are really located directly very near the sea will now be transferred to a much higher ground.
See, that's quite interesting, Kuya Fausto, that you mentioned it. To all our viewers out there, if you're ever interested in the program, as a top business management school in the country and also in the region, when we were applying, one of the requirements that we had was submitting a capstone or a managerial research report idea for us to look into and really look on why the program matters to us and how would we use the program, which would result in a capstone or an MRR report in order for us as a graduate, requirement. But with that in mind, especially talking about education, I know we saw each other just a couple of months ago. Our last class was February, and
Yeah.
then right before the class for March, we were hit by the enhanced community quarantine by the Philippine government for all of the island of Luzon. With that said, how has the pandemic affected Camarines Sur, the province? I remember that yeah, you were because of the lockdown, you were here most of the time during this pandemic. I think you were in Naga City, if I believe that.
Yeah. Actually, before the lockdown, I'm very busy with the academic institution where I am currently engaged with. I've been teaching undergraduate studies for since 2005 for 15 years already at the Naga College Foundation. And I was offered actually to be the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences last January. Um, Now, we are very busy that time because we are focusing more on the completion of the second semester and for uh, promoting being the new leader in the College of Arts and Sciences. I would like to enhance the capacities of the faculty, the students, and improve the enrollment, particularly now that we are facing this pandemic. But because of what had happened last March, the declaration of the lockdown of the national government and the uh, quarantine that we had experienced last March, well, based on my personal opinion, the encompassing and extensive effect of this pandemic has affected all. No one was spared because of a lot of uncertainties that we had experienced because of this pandemic. And it changes not only the lifestyle, it changes almost everything in life that has made this pandemic very challenging to all of us. And right now, because for all you know, I am the most senior actually in cohort one. I'm already 61-year old.
A real senior citizen now.
Yeah, I keep on reminding I'm senior, but I will forever be junior because I'm the junior of my father.
So we'll getting back into that later on to explain more about how the pandemic affected the province. In that aspect, in the lens of as an EMDRCM student and also as currently a person of the education sector, specifically Naga City, Naga College Foundation, which is a private institution. In terms of how the pandemic affected the province, as you were explaining it earlier, and of course the biggest challenges of the province of Camarines Sur at the moment, in the lens of EMD as an EMDR CM student, what did you see and what were you able to synthesize from the happenings that was going on with the pandemic, as one would expect if they were interested in becoming a student of the EMDR CM cohort 3?
Yeah, I'm very proud actually to mention about the influence that we had in our marketing class with Prof. Richard. Prof. Richard, yes. Because our LT1, courtesy of LT1, one of the activities that we had, um, we produce a recommendation to Naga College Foundation to serve as a role model for bouncing back better after this pandemic. Because our objective there is to really serve as a role model, but to enhance learners' access to quality education and offer better opportunities for all learners. So regardless from whatever sector they came from, quality education is definitely a pledge that Naga College Foundation can provide to everyone. Through the learnings that we had from Proof Richard in marketing, the recommendations of LT1 has been considered by my school, by Naga College Foundation, in establishing infrastructure for blended learning on schools and the community. Because for all you know, Naga College is the only school in the Bicol region offering private school, take note of that, private higher education institution offering bachelor in public administration. That's why we are
Mhm.
catering to, we encouraging local officials, uh, government employees who have not completed their college courses that they can still enroll with us. We are offering it on a Saturday, Sunday classes. And for now, we will be starting our classes by August 8th, I think. And we're starting at with an online classes that we'll be having. And aside from the blended learning, actually the program that Naga College Foundation has adopted is the Flex 50 that we have. Flex 50 refers to it could possibly be a 50% online, 50% face-to-face if the government allows. But we also have alternatives like the learning packet models that we'll be providing to our learners. And another thing, one thing unique with my institution is that we are the only school that have our own television and radio station because we are also offering bachelor of arts in communication. So
So,
that's
Sir
one of the
Fausto,
details.
so Kuya Fausto, like speaking of what you have, what Learning Team One or LT1 together has done, talking about some of the core courses that we're gonna learn that people would expect from AIM's EMD or CM, like systems thinking, design thinking, causal loop diagram, and really hunkering down and looking and being able to be outside the box and think outside the box and really analyze the situation that we have in hand, and specifically how you were talking about how your learning team LT1 was able to create this plan and recommendation regarding about how a private institution, specifically in the education sector with Nag College Foundation, to move forward with the new normal. How else would you characterize it as one of the key main points of the learnings that you've received in AIM that really pushed forward into creating that resiliency that you're talking about now, that's an initiative of NCF or Naga College Foundation?
Yeah. In fact, last week I think the president of NCF attended the conference with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and they discovered that from among the private institutions here in Agua City, it's only NCF that is very much ready for the new normal to hold classes because we already have finished conducting trainings for capacity building for the faculty, and then for you can see me. I think my video was off.
Yes, we lost you there.
Yeah, yeah. Why? What
We
happened?
lost your video. Um,
Is it okay
just
now?
waiting for your video. Not yet, not yet. But
Wait.
go ahead, continue Kuya Fausto while we're waiting for your video.
Okay, okay. So that was it. And for now, uh, the basic education in our institution will be starting their classes by next week, by Monday, meaning that's a proof that we are indeed ready for the new normal. Another thing, aside from that, the systems thinking that you have mentioned, the causal loop that we have been discussing in class, and the influence that I have offered for NCF, like I was encouraging the different faculty members to maybe we can also adopt the ones that uh, AIM is having the learning team approach. If we are very familiar with this one, because I was telling them that the learning team approach is very important. Like because of this pandemic, we can assign different learning teams in different locations, observing the physical distancing and the health standards without going directly to schools, but a group in a specific municipality or area will be grouped together as a learning team, and then our learning facilitator can provide the continuous education through the use of multimedia, like we're having the radio station and the television station that we are having in school. So that is also part of it. Another thing that we would like to impart is no more cancellation of classes, because if you are online, any time of the day, any time of the week, we can have our classes. So we will just be adjusting on the demand and on the right approach wherein everybody would be amenable to accept the setup that will be promoted in order that quality education will be continuously delivered to our partners, like the learners of our institutions. I think until now my video doesn't go.
Yes, Kuya Fausto, can you turn on the video again? I think Jocelyn, one of the technical team, is asking for your permission to turn it on.
Yeah, yeah. I cannot switch it on. I do not know. I think somebody had. I'm not. Well. No,
Let's
no,
try
no, no.
that.
Maybe
Let's try
later.
the request again.
Where's that?
I think Joshua will press again the video request, and you should be able to
Yeah,
click OK on it.
yeah. I started. I keep on clicking OK, but it doesn't go. I do not know what
Yeah,
happened.
technical issues that we're having now. But considering what you were just talking about, how would you characterize resiliency in that part then, in terms of how you manage to push forward NCF into this new normal? How would you characterize resiliency for our audiences, and what it really means? Besides, that what the textbook always talks about in terms of resiliency.
But actually, the challenge here of developing resilience is indeed. Can you hear me, Jason?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, yeah. But really, my video doesn't allow. I do not know what happened to this one. Wait. Oh, it's okay now. Can you see me now?
Copy that.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yes, I can see you now.
going back, going back to being resilient. This is really a big challenge for everyone, not only in the province of Camarines Sur, because for now, particularly because of this pandemic, we are really facing into such so much uncertainty that we nobody can tell that we are really that resilient already. Although in terms of preparedness, maybe we are prepared for a lot of disasters, but we never have anticipated that this pandemic is this worst that we should face now. Um, because commonly in all areas, uh, health emergency management was never a priority because like this one, because this pandemic is considered to be a health emergency management aspect, the preparedness of the people or even government is always towards the natural disasters. No one has focused on the health disasters or the health emergency or crisis that we'll be encountering now. However, in terms of the province of Camarines Sur, we do somehow manages to cope with the challenges that COVID has brought us because we have close monitoring and independently the different municipalities in the province of Camarines Sur have also their respective disaster management council and the disaster management office that are catering to the different disasters that we are facing now, the new challenge that we are facing on COVID. Hopefully, because of this challenge that we had with COVID-19, everybody will have a different focus now that it should be included in all areas of concerns on disaster management, not only the focus on natural disasters. In terms of the level of resiliency that we have, I can only say that most probably the adaptive capacity of the different local government units, particularly the province of Camarines Sur, is also present because we learn to adapt with these challenges that COVID-19 has brought us. We learn to cope with the different aspects of the pandemic, which we have never ever experienced before. History tells us that the Spanish flu before, but it's a different perspective that we are having right now because the COVID-19 has brought out a lot of changes, a lot of differences, and a lot of new things that we should learn to enhance respective capacities in order to eventually we can say we are indeed resilient. So most probably, if ever there will be another, hopefully no more another, but in the event that will really be such thing that will be happening again, maybe that will only be the time that you can say that we are already resilient because we will learn to live with it. We learn to face.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was even telling some of my colleagues that no one can do away with COVID now. We should learn to coexist with COVID. We should learn to live with COVID in order to survive this life that we are having. So that thing can be considered as being resilient already.
Thank you for the clarification from that, because I know how sometimes we talk about romanticizing resiliency, or a lot of people don't understand the what it really means to be resilient. And I love how you characterized how Camarines Sur. It's not necessarily because of unpreparedness because of COVID-19. It was really after what the province is doing while the COVID-19 situation is happening. And with that being in mind, with that said, of course, if anybody from the Camarines Sur are watching right now, we would like to first and foremost thank all the frontliners, the government frontliners that are ensuring that we can lower our infection rate and our COVID-19 pandemic from spreading all over Camarines Sur and also from the neighboring Albay province and neighboring Calabarzon province and Quezon. With that said, we definitely thank you and pray for you guys, and God bless to all the frontliners that are currently in harm's way and are doing their job amidst COVID-19 here in Camarines Sur. With that in mind, Kuya Fausto, anchoring on what you have said earlier, how are disasters or disaster risks managing Camarines Sur then, given that we have new insights and new learnings that we had achieved throughout this COVID-19 as a province, and with that also, how has the EMDRCM program helped with you transferring and also sharing some of the knowledge that you've learned with some of your colleagues that are still in the capital, the provincial government of Camarines Sur, and of course the municipality of Siruma, with your colleagues that are still serving with the government.
Yeah. In terms of of the management of risk, disaster risk, I think all of the municipalities have their respective incident command system already, and the existing DRMOs were also trained on this one. For the province, of course, we have a very effective and efficient management concept on incident command management system. Like we follow what are those happening on the ground on the different municipalities, and then we integrate into the plan of the province and look into who are those that needs priorities. And on that, we do share some knowledge, the expertise, and the resources, particularly manpower and equipment, in order to support the different needs of the different LGUs all over the province of Camarines Sur. However, on some area, to link the learnings that we had at the RCM, in one of the uh, practices here in Naga City, there was a donor that is donating, I think, food for around 200 frontliners starting March. They are feeding these people every day, 200 food packs. But I just commented and suggested that instead of using styro packs, because I told them that that is another disaster. Solid waste is another disaster. That's why I was encouraging them that they should at least use recyclable packs or lunch box that can be reusable, or those that are boxes that are biodegradable. In that aspect, there was a program which my students in the graduate studies. I am also, by the way, teaching disaster management in the public sector, emergency management in the public sector as part of the Master in Public Administration program that we are having in NCF. So because of that, I encourage my students to group together to enlighten those who are using plastics, styrofoam, and those that are affecting the environment, particularly those that are not biodegradables. So in that aspect, I did not only share the knowledge on disaster management, but I also share some aspects regarding proper solid waste management, because I told them that take note, if we are focusing on this pandemic as a disaster, if we are focusing on typhoon, flooding, and landslide as disasters, we should always consider that solid waste is a hidden disaster as well.
See, that's a great thing that you brought that up, Kuya Fausto. At the end of the day, this is one of the things that a key takeaway that as a future student or student of EMDRCM, specifically in AIM, really sees. We are being trained to become the bridging leaders and integrators for disaster risk crisis management. And I love how you talked about the full virtuous circle that comes into mind that although you're thinking about disaster, the risk and crisis management of it, we also have to think about the climate crisis that may arise from managing these disasters through thinking about climate sustainability, thinking about the environment. It really is all about the virtuous circle of it, and thinking about the whole expanse of from response to rehabilitation and things like that. And one of those things that you brought up that I really love was that it really is applying what we've learned what we learned in climate change in the class when we were talking about the science of it, and of course how switching to sustainable energy or green economy is also beneficial for the Philippines right now, and how we are learning from all these different government agencies, of course, and different professors from all over the world about how we can change the mindset now and how we can market this to our constituents to ensure that that we're also thinking about not only about the response but also what are the aftermaths of the response and the recovery plans that are being put into place when we're talking about managing risks and disasters. With that being said, in terms of that being used, what you have used the EMDRC and learnings towards NCF, and also towards some of your colleagues in Suruma, and then getting this your students in your master classes to think about the environment, and at the same time looking at into responding effectively. How would you say characterize this then as we prepare for the upcoming double whammy, as we call it? Because we are still going to have COVID-19 within the next couple of months, and then the season for typhoon is also already coming up soon. So, how would you think that EMDRCM program would help prospective students and, of course, leaders that are looking into the double whammy of disaster when the time comes?
Yeah. Uh, Being part of cohort 1 is indeed an honor. And it has been great to be sharing the knowledge that I have acquired from term 1 to term 2. And down, we are now in term 3. The lessons that I have acquired and the knowledge and the skills that I've been sharing, not only in my academic institutions that I'm engaged with now, but even in the different municipalities and friends that I have, I keep on reminding them that facing any challenge, particularly this pandemic and the double whammy that you have mentioned, is indeed part of the challenges that we will be facing, not only in the months to come, but most probably in the years to come. That's why I keep on reminding everyone to be ready. Do not focus on what is now happening. Focus more on what are the possibilities that will be happening in the coming days. Because as part of it, I've been promoting also the program of One Economy, One Community for sustainability. Because of that, whether you will be facing a double whammy or not, you will always be sustainable. You will always be ready to face all these challenges because number one to survive is food security. That's why I think I've mentioned this one already in one of our talks that we had.
Yes.
Maybe yeah, that I was blessed to become a conservation fellow. I
Mm-hmm.
think I have mentioned that about I think I have mentioned it to you already. I am blessed to be a conservation fellow actually. That's why I'm also an environmentalist. I've been promoting in Siruma the conservation of the coastal areas, particularly the fishing communities, because the
Yes, I
20,
remember that.
yeah, the 17 barangays are all coastal, and we have there what we call marine protected areas or the fish sanctuaries. That is where I started the Pride campaign program of sustainable fishing, which now is being has scaled up into a Fish Forever program. So some said there's no such forever. I just don't know if Jason has a forever. But for us in Siruma, fish is forever. So that's actually a program of an international INGO who supported us this program which we call Pride Campaign Program. Developing pride to the people to learn to claim ownership over the resource. So co-ownership, particularly the lesson that we had on BL, on bridging leadership, is very important on this aspect because co-ownership will enhance the pride of every individual to protect the resource, to sustain and survive any challenge that we will be facing. So regardless of single or double whammy, if you are sustainable, if you have one community, one uh, food security and sustainability, definitely facing the double whammy would be as as normal as possible that you can deal with. However, some of us now, because of the changes that we have experienced because of this pandemic, are always thinking of going back to the normal because they thought this pandemic will end. Hopefully, there should be an eye opener to everyone that this pandemic is very uncertain if it's really going to end. Maybe that's why I have mentioned already earlier. We should learn to coexist and we should learn to live with this the virus that will be. We can never tell wherever it is located. Maybe it's just around the corner. So the best thing that everybody should do is to understand the protocols, to observe the health standards that are being required, because that is only the best thing that you can protect yourself and you can protect others so that you can survive this pandemic. And moreover, I would like also to give emphasis on the number one focus should be the agricultural sector. I think you have mentioned about the importance and the role of this in our economy. The agricultural sector will build more to support the needs, the basic need of the people. Although we cannot do away with the businesses, but if you have food, then you can survive. Although that's why the promotion of one community, one economy for sustainability. I keep on promoting it ever since and until now. I keep on campaigning this to the different municipalities, not only in Siruma, but encouraging all the different municipalities all over Camarines Sur.
If also, it's actually quite opportune that you just mentioned that. One of the questions that just came up was, how do we address perceptions that disaster resilience is the role of the government only? And some of that questions you already answered that, as what we have learned in EMDRCM, that it's about co-creation, taking
Yeah,
ownership of the problem. It's really talking about from me to we. It's about that one community, one economy that you were just talking about to promote sustainability. But to summarize what you have just said, do you think that, and how do we address that perception that disaster resilience is the role of the government only? What do you think about that question? Succinctly, how would you answer that in a very short sentence? I would say.
I should say that I think that's an old stuff and nobody wants to buy that anymore.
I think resilience really starts with us. I think that's one of the
Yeah,
things that we learned, that in disaster risk crisis management, with all the learnings that we've learned so far, it's not we are not trying to romanticize resilience, but we're really talking about the resilience would start with the person that is also taking care of themselves, because at the end of the day, how no matter how prepared a city or a community is, but when disaster strikes, the first person to help your family or yourself would be you.
yeah.
So with that in mind, what else do you think a DRCM professional should look into in terms of what made the AIM EMDRCM program so different from what everybody else is offering in the country?
Yeah, our EMDRCM at AIM is really something different, very unique. The approach is somewhat uh, very, very much extensive. But if you're going to look at it on the ground, it's very grounded because the basics is there, the enhancement are there, and all the capacity building that are needed by a disaster manager are present already. In my case, as a DRCM student and very proud to be part of cohort 1, those things that I have acquired from term 1, even at the outset during the
Mhm.
activity that we had in Tanay, that was somewhat a very different approach and learnings that I have experienced in my life. Take note that I have mentioned that I am the youngest of cohort one, but in terms of the learnings that I have acquired already, somewhat the offerings that we had here in EMDRCM will really put you something, will really give you such a different look on disasters, particularly if you're going to share it to the least fortunate communities, those who have very uh, low level of appreciation of what disaster is really all about. We can help these people. Particularly, I'm focusing on my personal uh, uh, importance of having being part of a coastal municipality, because commonly the people are always dependent on government, and government like fourth class municipalities are always dependent on the internal revenue allotment or the IRA. What if in the event that these things are exhausted? So as an individual person, resiliency should be inherent in its every person. In order, that's why, because I am a development planner, I usually start my planning is inherent upon the person. If you're going to prepare a plan, start the plan with yourself. And then the plan, radiate it to your family. And then from your family, like developing resiliency, be resilient first as a person. And then eventually, you radiate it to your family to become resilient. And then your family can radiate it to the different families within your community, so that the entire community will eventually be resilient. And your community will eventually scale up to the entire society, so that the entire society will become resilient. So that is developing resiliency and the perspective of an EMDRCM student like me.
That's basically our cultural reference to bayanihan. You know, that's basically
Yeah.
bayanihan in terms of resilience. And and I thank you for that, Kuya Fausto, specifically and especially that you are a seasoned DRR professional from not only from the municipality of Suruma, and also doing this consultancy work not only for the provincial under Vice Governor Imelda Papin, and of course working with Naga College Foundation. And as a graduate, also a world, you've been to as a graduate University of Texas. I mean, you have all these knowledge that comes that that really talks about, and I love how you really talked about how grounded the program really is on a person that really is going to take seriously nation building, and of course thinking about country, not just about self, and at the same time really talking about disaster and reducing the risk of the underserved, the most vulnerable of our countrymen. Like what you said, to summarize it, EMDRCM will resonate with them because as a developmental management school and as a business school, these are the things that we're tackling down. These are the things that we're talking about. And now that we're talking about on one of our classes in strategic negotiations, we're also talking about what value really is to that other person, not necessarily about what the value is to you. What are you going to get out of a negotiation? And these are quite
Yeah.
interesting facts that you've mentioned with what you have learned, specifically you coming from all over the world with all your achievements insofar as one of the youngest member of our cohort. Um, but with that being said, what are some of your messages that you can give to our audiences when it comes to really looking at yourself and saying that I want to be a DRR professional, I want to be a DRCM professional, but I don't really know where to begin,
Yes.
especially now with the pandemic that has been happening with this new normal. How can what are some of the recommendations that you can give to become one of these innovators that we are being taught at AIM?
Yeah. But before I answer your question, I would like to continue. The bottom line of the ones that I have mentioned about planning, developing resilience on yourself, your family, your community, and the entire society. Because the bottom line of it is improving quality of life. So that is
Mm-hmm.
geared towards improvement of quality of life. Now, going back to your question of the challenges that we are really facing now. Actually, the ones you have mentioned about government should be the one developing resiliency is something kind of an old stuff. I stated that already. But the current systems that we are having now, particularly to inspire those aspiring EMDRCM students, do not look into what the government can do for you, but always look on what can you can do for yourself, for your family, for your community, and eventually for the society. And then maybe eventually to be of service to your government and to humanity. However, because of the situation that we are having, commonly the approach is like we put the blame, or we always look forward on the type of leadership that we are having in our local governments or even in government itself. But take note, those leaders are the ones that are initiating to cope with this pandemic. Everybody is only waiting for what are the policies, the rules, the regulations that the government are imposing in order to curtail the increasing number of positive of COVID-19. However, at the local level, take note, we have the local chief executive, but there is a workhorse that we call the incident management team. And they strategizes. They are the ones that are really working on the basic. They are the ones that who are grounded. But policy changes and everybody evolves. If you are an EMDRCM student, or if you join the gang of EMDRCM to become integrator, to become an innovator, you should start it within yourself. Because you can never say and you can never share the knowledge, the skills, or even the abilities, or more importantly, because I keep on promoting this one, that's why I'm having always a theory of change. I know you are familiar with the theory of change, because the theory of change that I've been promoting starts with increasing knowledge. If you increase your knowledge, you can also share the knowledge to your people. And if you increase the knowledge of your people, you can change the behavior of these people. With the changes in the behavior, you can also promote things that you wanted to adopt by these people, so that eventually resiliency, adaptability, managing this pandemic, developing resiliency will be acquired. And whatever negative aspects or factors that are hindering the desired result, to flatten the curve, to lessen the incidence of increasing positive COVID-19 patients, then all of us will be proud that eventually all of us are part and parcel of having a successful local government, a successful community, and everybody will now be engaged into supporting one another to live, to coexist with this pandemic.
Thank you for that, Sir Fausto. Thank you for being our resource guest for the province of Camarines Sur. And thank you for reiterating that it's really about creating innovation and, like what we've learned in class, creating solutions rather than concentrating in the shortcomings or what the government has failed on. Because at the end of the day, resiliency, like you said, starts with also with us. And the only way for it to emanate all the way from ourselves to our community is really, taking down and looking at what's wrong and offering solutions and thinking outside the box. With that said, with your experience of having seen both the government side and now the private sector in terms of education, I really thank you for clarifying that innovation really has to start with ourselves, and at the same time really looking down at it. And for those that are interested in joining the program, these are what you're going to see. These are what you're going to learn. At the end of the day, we can tell you how great the program is, but until you join the tribe, until you join EMDRCM, you will definitely see why EMDRCM cohort 1 and 2 are being developed to become the bridging leaders, to become the integrators, to become the crisis manager that the country sorely needs right now, that would one day create the solution and also create the innovation that we need. Because like what Sir Fausto and Kuya Fausto has said, the relying on the government for all your needs in terms of response or relief goods during a disaster is an old concept. It shouldn't work like that anymore. With that said, Kuya Fausto, thank you so much for being here and for all the hard work you're doing for NCF, for trying to prepare, students into, becoming adept into the new normal and ensuring the delivery of education will be successful in some shape or form. Um, and also, creating that resiliency mindset for NCF. What are your last words or message, maybe for the people who may be inclined to join our program in Executive Master in Disaster Risk Crisis Management?
Yeah. You will never regret to join EMDRCM. You will enjoy life. You will appreciate a lot more about life because even at my age now, I still consider that a lot of things need to be uh, understood about disasters. Because in my case, even with my 24 years in development planning as a planning officer in the local government, I really appreciated so much of joining cohort 1 because I have learned to continuously inspire not only the children, not only the people in my community, but I continuously inspire other people to adapt and to develop the respective TOC, the theory of change that I have mentioned, because that is a principle that I think everybody should be doing. In order to face every challenge that you are having, you continuously develop a theory of change because that is only through the theory of change you will be achieving the goals in life that you are having. Being part of an EMDRCM family, I would encourage everyone and those who are interested, join and discover what is EMDRCM, and you will discover a lot to promote not only yourself, not only your community, but a lot of things can be done to help not only the government that we are having, but a lot of people in the world will benefit because of being part of EMDRCM. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you for that, Sir Fausto. I also have a message for the people who wish to join EMDRCM. The first, like they say, the first thing to do with any given problem is to recognize there is a problem before we start talking about solution. And at the same time, it's also talking about how can we own the problem so we can um, invite others to create a solution. One thing that I love about the program is it teaches us how to become a person of learning, a person that would love to suck in as much knowledge as you can, and to really drop and leave your ego at the door. What's great and amazing about this program, if you ever wish to join, is that you will meet professors that that at the end of the day, it's like they're telling you that the more you know, the more you realize that you actually know nothing. And with that, you learn that with the humility that comes with the knowledge that you learn, to become the, as we say, the bridging leader and the integrator to come up with the solutions and the innovations to help not only the marginalized and those that are underserved, specifically in the developing country, like here what we have in the Philippines. It also teaches you to be able to look outside the box and really look down upon the solutions that can come out from not only from the class but also from the classmates that you will be learning with, like in your learning teams. One thing that I can give you guys is that absorb all the learnings. That's one thing you're going to learn, and at the same time, you will also learn uh, that you would know that being part of this cohort, you will care more about how you can find the solution rather than trying to pursue your own agenda. And also, with that in mind, one thing that the three things that the EMDRCM and the Asian Institute of Management will teach you, being a global leader and becoming the thought leader in terms of creating resiliency and becoming the go-to school for disaster risk crisis management, is that you will learn that you will be able to lead, you will able to inspire, and you will able to transform the community or the place that you eventually will work with when you graduate from here. So thank you again, Sir Fausto, and thank you to all of you who have been watching this live session for the past hour. And we would like to ask you to keep safe, follow the protocols. Remember, the COVID-19 situation will stop starting from us also. And thank you so much to the Asian Institute of Management. And I would also like to thank the Executive Master in Disaster Risk and Crisis Management recruiting team for giving us this opportunity to talk about what it takes and also what are the learnings that we are getting every single month from being part of this cohort one and having that privilege and honor to be part of the pioneering class of this EMDRCM. Thank you again, and this has been another episode of EMDRCM Live. And God bless you all. God bless our frontliners. God bless Camarines Sur, and God bless the Philippines. Thank you, Sir
Thank
Fausto.
you. Thank you very much and good evening. It's an honor to
Good
be
evening,
part of this.
everyone.
Good
It's an
evening.
honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not just simply being able to bounce back better.
Are we closing now, Jason? Am I leaving the meeting?
One more minute, Kuya Fausto.
Okay.